Thank you for being here. I'm very glad to be here to present the film, and I'm loving Korea. I'm much appreciated to be here and enjoying your city and your country. Thank you. Thank you all. I started in 2015, and I didn't choose because it was the only thing I had, so I work with I had. So when I started, I went to film school, and after I finished, is 2014, I made a feature film also, like a documentary, with a really small camera that it fits in my pocket, and it was like a diary. After this, it was well received in Portugal also, in the professional cinema, and so I was like starting to work as a film editor. At the same time, I started to make this film, and at the time I asked. First, I asked the camera borrower. This camera is a bigger one, but is the one that has a very good sensor, and it was used a lot before the HD digital format. So I started with this camera, then I just keep going until I get money to buy one for myself. This where I film was in my hometown, so I have really proximity with these people because some of my family or some of my neighbors. Also, it was like a really intuitive thing, because it was not, when I would film them, it was not like the reason I was there. It was never to make a film. I was helping them. I was learning how to work the land. So when I got the chance, I would grab the camera and shoot it. And then I try to put myself in the position where I could watch how these things are made, because at the same time I was shooting this, I realized that all the knowledge my grandmother has about working the land eventually will be lost. So I will try to learn myself. So I put myself in that position, and also I put the camera in that position, how to learn to work the land. So this is really intuitive thing. And it was, while I was filming, I was also, because it was not intensive shooting, so in between I was also editing, if you want to translate that. And was in the editing, I was like joining the pieces that I gathered and try to make sense, or like try to build something, and that was the way of the film was making. It was like a process of discovering what film would be, and not having like a perceived idea or to what I was making. No, only in 2 occasions. It was the moment when Manuel, the farmer, grabs a coin. I don't know, if grabs something from the ground, and the food scene where the kids are turning around the corn was the only two. The rest was no. It was made with a friend, to Paulo, and he's like, but while shooting, I would add a micro in the camera, and sometimes I would record some ambient sound, and we designed like because it was during the pandemic time, so we made the design by like distance. But the thing we would try to bring in evidence was like the sound of these little things that we normally don't notice. Actually, the removing the dialogue was actually an option that I made because I realized that when I showed the film to my friends, that they didn't see what I would like them to see, and removing all the dialogue was like people paying attention to these little things, because our dialogue when we speak, it's always the first thing that we pay attention to, and if you don't speak, you are like listen to other sounds. Also, this kind of detail where actually sometimes we don't hear it, like pulling the weed out is something that you feel it when you do it. So this kind of vibration, we try to put it in the sound. With like instead we don't hear it, but when you do it yourself, you feel it. It was intention in the editing, where I would find these ideas. But the idea of these, the conclusion, or is not the conclusion, but the idea I've come through by making this film, there is life in the soil, you know, that's making all this work, you know, like, so this is always be interrupted by our activity, even in agriculture or construction. We are always interrupting something when you work with the soil. So I will try to make this happen somehow. So there is always life beneath us. And this particular sequence was one of the last that I came through, because I applied to a fund for a final post-production and it was like in Portugal, and it was like very bad classified, but the jury said that the film was filming literally the soil, and because of that was innocuous. He had no meaning, or he had no significance. So I tried to emphasize also that, because there is so much going on under our feet, and it's important to have conscience about it and not to destroy it, or not to destroy it. Yeah. Like a contrast of what's happened in that place, that we are always building something, or nature is building something, then we are destroying, and then build and then destroy. It's like a wave somehow, but this is it's a contrast that it's in my hometown. It's not something that I plan. I just wanted to show it somehow, that we build but we also destroy. No, the orange are really good, but I chose it, I don't know, because it's simple than eating a potato, no? But also making this film make me realize that our times for each one of living things are different. So for we, For example, a fly that lives a day, or a tree that lives decades or centuries, or even us that live like 18 years or more. But so there is a different kind of perception of times. And this orange tree that appears regularly to the film is making this orange that we hit in the end. So that takes time to the tree to make this orange. And sometimes we forget about the time, and I think we lost the value of the food we eat because we waste so much. There is one forgotten film called The Movement of Things by Manuela Serra, and was a film that had some impact on, it was made on the 80s, but had some like festivals going around, but in Portugal was very badly received because it was a world, in the cinema was a industry full of men, and they kind of try to get out of the system. And it's a very important film for me. It calls Movement of Things by Manuela Serra. And other filmmakers like contemporary, also one of my producers is also a director, Iku Costa, or films that I've worked, filmmakers that I've worked that are inspired to me. Yeah, there are so much names that I can't say it now. It's amazing that I think what I like about films that there are films that allow the viewer put themselves in the film for like their experience, and this is the proof. It's not there is like an idea of death in some parts of the film, but I don't think if it is this scene that I'm thinking about. I didn't just only the lights changing. But yeah, of course, there is that involved in nature, and also we should realize that and be thankful for what we have. It was like an experience to like always have editing, and this is very important for a film. All stages are important, but editing for me is where I think, is where I create the ideas, and I work directly with the material I've got and not some perceived ideas. And with editing I get the ideas with the material, because my father works, one reason is my father works on construction, and he always saying the material is always right. And I feel this with video too, or with film, that the image tell you something, and we can't have an idea imposed to the image, because the image tells you something. Is not the way, the other way around. I'm working in a project that starts, it's following a research by a Portuguese archaeology, and it's a research about this sound archaeology and how sound could have impact in prehistoric times. And it starts from that, and I'm still in the process, so it's like I'm still discovering what it will be. We should do things differently in every, like, this is film. I think it proved that you can break the rules and do things in an ecological way, because I feel that it's a very ecological film in this making, not in this only in this in what is what the film tried to say. Because I use a old camera, it was in my hometown. The cost was very low, so we could do things differently. And please do, because we are in a place where we start to feel the consequences of our actions. So please do things differently, or in a way that doesn't affect so much the world.